Anyone else? Okay, and we'll go ahead and close out public items. And we'll move into our consent agenda. We only have one item on our consent agenda this evening, and that's to consider the approval of minutes. And so I'll accept the motion in a second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that the council approve consent agenda item number 1.
I'll second that.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember DeBolt?
Aye.
Mayor, could I
Councilmember Frisbee?
Aye.
Could I have one more
Councilmember Hands?
comment on the West?
No, you have to be quiet right now. We're in the middle of the vote. You're going to have to wait.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about voting.
Councilmember Hands?
Aye.
Councilmember Hupp?
Aye.
Councilmember Nath?
Aye.
Councilmember Neal?
Aye.
Councilmember Babe?
Aye.
Okay, that vote on the consent agenda item passed. Now, normally it's not appropriate for you to stand up and talk in the middle of our meeting once we get past public items. Can you tell me what it is that you want?
Yes. Want me to come forward?
I want to make an allowance for that, but that's something I normally don't do.
Okay.
But
Mayor,
please come forward and to the podium, okay?
Sure.
And you'll need to identify yourself and your address.
My name is Daryl Edmonds, and I live at 6516 Maston in West Vernon Place. First thing I want to do is thank Dave and Bob. They've been great working with us, and they showed the cared for the people at West Vernon Place. I have one question. You've heard everybody. I've sent emails. I attended the council meeting before this council meeting. Zach and I did. We had the meeting last Thursday on the sidewalks. So you've heard West Vernon Place people talk in three meetings now. So can you tell me when the project will be voted on to cancel?
Okay, actually, let me explain the process. During the public comments, you're not allowed to ask questions.
Okay.
Just to make comments. Why don't you go ahead and have a seat, and we're going to get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Because there's some process issues. Go ahead and have a seat.
Sounds good.
Normally we're going to go into the mayor's report, but I'm going to change up just a little bit. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for being here to express your views on this. During public items, we allow you to make comments, and you've all made formed and good comments this evening, and all were well received by the council. One of the reasons why you're discussing this at the public items sections, because this matter is not on our agenda this evening. In order for us to take a vote to cancel or to go forward on something, it needs to be on the agenda, and I'll explain why that is. You talk about the council being present at all these meetings. That's not the case. One half the council was not at the meeting the other night, and so therefore, and that includes myself, we have no idea what any of the comments were. So it would be inappropriate in many respects for us to vote on something that we've had only limited amount of contacts with, especially if it's a vote to stop something that's already been planned and approved. That's not to say that that couldn't happen, but there's a process that we need to install because while you folks have taken the time to be here, and I think that's great, there may be a lot of people that would have liked to be here if they'd have known this was going to be on the agenda, and they have not had that opportunity. So for us to vote on something, to stop something, or even to start something without being on the agenda is really a case of not being transparent. So that's typically not the way we work. This can be placed on the agenda of a future meeting. At that point, then we would make a public notice, and people would know that we're going to talk about it and that we may vote on it, but we haven't done that for this meeting, and therefore it would be ill-advised for a vote to take place because it would disenfranchise a number of the people that weren't aware that this was even going to be something that we were going to discuss. Am I correct on that, Mr. Engel?
It could be placed on a future agenda,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's
I do want to make a couple comments as I know them. We don't answer questions, but sometimes I get questions and I have curiosities. One of the questions a couple of comments was made about Sherwood Forest. And Sherwood Forest, it's true, they do not have sidewalks. The issue, as I understand it, was placed at the one of the meetings at Sherwood Forest on whether or not they wanted sidewalks at the same time we were replacing their streets. In fact, when we replaced, I shouldn't say we replaced their streets, we actually built their streets. They had no curbs, no gutters, and no real streets there. They just had a road. And that was the way it was since Sherwood Forest was built, which I think was back in the 60s, maybe even before that. So at a point a few years ago, we put in streets and we put in gutters and we put in storm drainage because Sherwood Forest didn't have any of those things, where your neighborhood has all those things. And at the same time, we also thought about putting in sidewalks. And again, this is a matter of about, 12 years ago or 15 years ago, whenever we did them. 15 years ago. And they said they didn't want sidewalks. And so therefore we didn't put them in. Now, we didn't have a sidewalk program either at that point. In fact, the sidewalk program that basically is impacting your being here tonight is something that did come up about 3 years ago when we decided to go throughout the rest of the city and put sidewalks in places where they had never been installed. So 3 years ago, we didn't make the decision necessarily and plan to put sidewalks in your neighborhood. We just decided to incrementally install sidewalks in all the areas that had been missed over the years, and therefore we finally got to your neighborhood. So that's kind of how that worked. That's not to say that, we didn't make a Sherwood Forest a promise that they would never have sidewalks. What we did say is 12 or 15 years ago that at that time, they decided they didn't want them, and we decided, okay, you don't want sidewalks, we won't put them in there. That was before we started the sidewalk program, the sidewalk infill program, which was where we go back and look at the places that have been long forgotten and add the sidewalks where they're needed. So I just wanted to put that out there to kind of make sure everybody understood the facts on the history of that. So we're going to go forward. If the council wants to talk about this issue in their new business, we can. But I think we need to be very cautious about votes, and we can talk about the process at that time. But until that time goes, we have the rest of our meeting to get through, and you're more than welcome to stay through it if you wish. So I'm going to move into Mayor's report. The very first item in the Mayor's report is a proclamation for Public Works Week. So I guess I should need a representative of Public Works down on the floor and issue this proclamation. Who do I have?